Hey everyone, November 4th, here we go. Please begin the starter if you've not done so already. Let's take a look. Two questions. Which of the following are pull factors that led to urbanization during the Industrial Revolution? So again, I just want to recap a little bit, and you can look back at I believe page 43. A pull factor are the things that draw people, attract people to certain areas. Okay, so if you look at that list, which of those things are the pull factors, the things that draw people or attract people to move to a city that helps the city grow and become more urban, the growth of urban areas, which is urbanization? Okay, so go ahead and answer that question. And again, choose all that apply, please. I believe there, yep, 6 options. Choose all that apply. And you got to choose the best answer. There may be like, a reason why. Let me just get this out there, right? Poor sanitation. That's not a pull factor. Okay. But you could argue, yeah, somebody comes because there's poor sanitation because they need a job and their job is like they're a plumber, right? Something like that. But I mean, there's always going to be a stretch. But you got to choose the ones that are most likely or more likely to be a pull factor. Question 2. Now, which of the following are most likely viewed as push factors that could lead to people leaving urban areas during or after the Industrial Revolution? So as a result of urbanization and industrialization, the cities are like, what are the cities like? And what could be reasons that people say, I'm out, I can't live here anymore. And they're in a way they're pushed out of that. And again, I'm seeing for like most likely. There's always going to be an alternative or a reason. You could always twist those options. But go ahead and again choose that option and then move on, please. Okay. Now let's look at the summary. We're going to analyze the impact, the effects of the Industrial Revolution. We're going to look at kind of what happened because of the Industrial Revolution, and we're going to kind of talk about that. And you're going to have to decide whether those are some positive or negative effects and justify and support why you made the decision you did. We're going to look at understanding the economic activities of modern societies and regions. That's our North Carolina Standard Course of Study, talking about the industrialization and its and help us better understand those activities as it relates to the economies of these areas. We're studying Europe, ideology, impacts, interactions, or statement of inquiry. The starter, which we did, we're going to begin 44, impact of the Industrial Revolution, and then the ticket out the door. And then, as usual, you need to finish page 44 before 10 p.m. tonight. And again, just heads up, I'm a little, even though I had a work day yesterday, I'm a little behind on grading. So I've not graded, I think 40, 41, 42, and 43, which should have been done on Monday. So just give you a heads up, those are coming soon though. So hopefully those are finished and you do have those done. All right, everybody go to page 44 in your digital notebook, 44 in your digital notebook. And here's what this is gonna look like. And I'll go there as well. Here we are on page 44. I'll go ahead and make that full screen here, make it a little bit easier for y'all to see. So what I've done is I've created this organizer where I have positive on the left, negative on the right. So I want you, as I talk about these different effects or the impact, kind of the outcome, some positive and negative consequences of the Industrial Revolution, I want you to determine whether it's more of a positive or more of a negative impact, that effect is more positive or more negative. You cannot put both. You cannot put both. I'm making you decide. And then I want you to put a justification. Why did you put it there? Why did you determine that it was positive or why did you determine that it was negative? Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So if we look back at okay, I'm looking at slideshow here. Okay, here's the slideshow. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So effects of the Industrial Revolution. Here we have some really cool images that go along with this that helps give you a view, an idea of honestly what's happening during this time. And again, we're looking at the late 1700s into the 1800s, moving into even the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s at this point, where industrialization and the growth of industries and factories is really occurring and is really strong. Okay, so here I want you to do. So again, you have positives on one side, negatives on the other. And here you see an idea, you see transportation, you see, urbanization with the buildings. And so here we go. Here, let's continue here. So here's what I want you to do. First thing I have on here is population increase. I want you to think right now. So because of Industrial Revolution, there are enhancements in medicine, other things as well, more leisure time. Maybe there's, more time to start and raise a family, okay, at this time. So you have that occurring. People are getting married, people are getting married potentially earlier, and you just have a population increase. So I want you to think through, is that a positive effect, outcome of the Industrial Revolution, or negative? And then justify that answer. And I put this one first intentionally. I think you could put it here. You say, so you would put it, if you think so, you would put population increase. And then you would write why, okay? You could write people are having larger families. And you could think that's a good thing, a positive outlook on that. Okay, you could say more people can mean more production. Okay, I mean, those are just some things that you could do, right? You could talk about, that there are some positives of population increase, and you've got to, you could come over here, and again, you have to choose. I'm using this as an example. You got to choose which one. Okay, so again, we could put population increase here. More materials, more food, overcrowding. You can put some negatives in there that you think, okay, nah, this population increase thing is a negative. So you need to determine for you, what do you think it is? Look at that effect, look at the impact of the Industrial Revolution, and you have to determine positive or why. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If you have questions, please put them in the chat, because we're going to go through these, and I'm gonna hurry, but the slideshow is available to you in Canvas, so you can kind of go back and focus on a little bit more if I do move too quickly. Okay, so here we go. Next up, transportation. The Industrial Revolution allowed for just different modes of transportation. If you think back on page 42 and you look at it, you have railroads now that connect the mines to the factories, that help get the materials from the factories to, they can be shipped out by barges and boats and whatever, so increase the exports and imports of goods. You have roads being made and cars being invented later on, just the overall transportation. Okay, and okay, so I want you to determine and put it in your categories here. Is that a positive or is that a negative? Now there may be negatives to it, there may be some clear negatives and clear positives. I'm not going to necessarily say what those are, but I want you to determine that for yourself, okay? And make sure you justify why you put it where you did, in which column, the positive or the negative column, okay? I'll give you, let's see. Yeah, I can give you a minute, maybe 30 seconds to a minute to get that done. And again, put any questions in the chat. All right, let's continue here. Working conditions, So I'll just talk about the working conditions, and you determine, where it goes. So we talked about this before. The working conditions at times, government was not as involved in kind of, I guess, controlling or regulating the factories. Sometimes they weren't as safe as they. So you had injuries occurring. You had at sometimes people dying because of accidents with different machinery. Some the smoke, the dust, all those things could lead to disease or just some other things that occurred that maybe were not as good for people. So I know this one's a little bit more straightforward, but go ahead and put it in which area you think it belongs and put your justification. Maybe you have a differing view as in somebody else, and that's completely okay as long as you give me a solid justification. That's what I'm looking for is what are you thinking about? What's your train of thought? Why did you put it where you did? I'm going to say that there are no wrong answers for this activity. All right? But I'm really looking forward to reading your ideas and your justification for why you put these conditions or put these effects of industrialization in the categories that you did. Okay, I'm going to go a little quicker because I do want to get through all of these. I want to speak to all of them before I let you go today. Education. So, even though there was child labor that's during the Industrial Revolution, later on, some of the effects of industrialization is the requiring is kind of the ability for school to be provided for everybody, for a lot of people, not everybody. But so you have increased access to education at this time. So you started out with more child labor, but then that eventually transitioned to mandatory school for the kids' time. He may say, hey, that's a negative because you don't like school, but nonetheless, access to education, better education, the requirement, the mandatory education, and that being provided more by the government and the communities at this time. That's like standard of living. So during this time of industrialization, you had a higher standard of living was experienced by the citizens, by the people that were working during this time. And you got more people working during this time as well with growth and more factories, more production. You have all of that happening, and with all that happens extra money. So people are spending extra money on extra things, which means more people are working. So you have all of that occurring, and you have a lot of people experiencing just an improved standard of living. So if you look pre-industrial revolution and post-industrial revolution, you have families and groups that have, more things, better homes, more things, okay, and maybe better health eventually, right? So standard of living, go ahead and put that on whichever side you think that belongs and work on your justification. Pollution. So with the Industrial Revolution comes at this point the burning of coal. It started out with the water powered, then burning lumber, but ultimately then with the mining, harvesting of coal, because it's more powerful through the steam engine, that ended up being the main fuel for the Industrial Revolution. So you have it for boats at this time, you have it for the factories, for the trains, all that's happening. And so you have additional pollution. You also have pollution from just the materials and waste from factories that are often near the rivers, sometimes went into the river. You got all just these materials and the waste from those factories would kind of run off into the river at times as well. So you just kind of have pollution, massively increased pollution because of the Industrial Revolution. Rapid urbanization. So this is just a quick increased growth of urban areas. So you have your town, right? Let's think of like round 16 to 17 in your from page 42 and 43, right? all of a sudden you have to add 20 houses, 5 more factories, 5 more tenements, and it's like just rapid urbanization. Think about that experience. But there could be, and I want you to determine, is this a positive or a negative thing? Just this quick growth of cities, urban areas. And I mean, this either side, you got it, but I'm looking at your justification. I'm looking at your justification. Growth of the middle class. This is basically saying that a lot of people at this time that were in the lower class are working so much now that they're increasing their wealth, and there's becoming a larger group of people that can afford to live, that they're not living paycheck to paycheck. They have a little extra money. So go ahead and put that on whichever side you feel like that goes. Again, positive or negative. But the population of the middle class is increasing. More people are in the middle class, okay, at this time. Okay, because of the Industrial Revolution, you have more leisure time. You have people and families, because of increased wealth, they have more time as well. And that time contributes to people vacationing, finding hobbies, doing other things that they didn't have before, where before they were going out and just working in the field to harvest and grow enough food and to make something old school like cottage industry in their home. And they're working all day to produce those materials and those goods to sell, to just make it, to barely make it. And so now you just have this difference in lifestyle. So you have more leisure time, more extra time, where people, I guess looking at this picture, right, going on a horse or a donkey. I don't even know. It looks like actually, on the beach. But anyways, just more leisure time. All right. So that's the last one. Go ahead and move to the ticket out the door, please. Let's see. Straightforward, just like before. 4 questions. The objective. What unit are we studying? Statement of inquiry and asynchronous work. Please put any questions in the chat, and I hope you have a good day.